Hello people, my name is Ben and this is the Indie Royale, the New Year's bundle that they've got going on. If you don't know what the Indie Royale is, then it's like, could be compared to the Humble Bundle, if you know what that is as well. The Humble Indie Bundle, and it's pretty much just as good as that. Some of the bundles aren't as good, but there's not really much competition because they're both doing it for good causes, except this one, as far as I know, doesn't concern a charity at all. It's just all about the actual developers, I think. But yeah, just getting right into it. The current minimum is £2.49, and this will either go up or down depending on how many people pay that minimum or how many people pay over it. As we can see right here, you can increase your amount to like £7 to drop it by 1 penny, 3 pennies, 3 pence if you go to 17, and so on and so forth. And that's their whole system, and it's quite a good system. I like that people can't just pay 1 pence for things like they can in the Humble Bundle, so it's a bit trickier to be a complete dick about it. And also, if you do pay above the minimum, depending on what it is at that time, then you'll also get the beautiful Lifestyle Funky Chiptune album track, which is a really, really good album actually, and is pretty much the main reason, or the only reason, unless it's just that you're really generous and you're a nice person, like me of course. That's the reason to pay more than the minimum, because they can't just leave you without a reason, pretty much. They always got to give some incentive. So the games that come with this bundle are Nuclear Dawn, Max and the Magic Marker, Fractal, and Super Crossfire. Super Crossfire, as you can see, is an exclusive, which is pretty awesome. And now with bonuses unlocked, there's a new game called Fun with Swarms, which I won't be presenting in this, but it's a cool little thing that you can get with it. You don't have to pay any more or anything, it's just a bonus. Same goes for the Pulse and Fractal soundtracks, Max and the Magic Marker soundtrack, and the Super Crossfire soundtrack. You can redeem all of these games on Steam, with the exception of Super Crossfire, which is so far not redeemable on Steam, but is redeemable on Desora, and of course they're all DRM free, with the exception of Nuclear Dawn, which has to be played on Steam, so keep that in mind. I don't know why that would inconvenience you, because let's be honest, if you're a gamer you should probably have Steam. Anyway, so that's how it works. In this video I'm going to go through the 4 games, just give you an overview, my first impressions on them, pretty much post commentary first impressions, so I can keep it short, simple, and then you can just go and get it. At the moment it says just under 3 days left. I'm sure it'll be just under 2 days by the time this video eventually goes up, but we'll see. It might still have more than 2 days left, so check it out as soon as possible. Of course the link will be in the description, and of course that just shows how it works, the current stats and such, and the upcoming bundles. So I will hopefully be able to cover pretty much every single bundle that does come out, and that'll be all good. But yeah, it's a pretty big thing, and that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna cover all these 4 games. So the first game is Nuclear Dawn, and this is a unique game to say the least. It's quite a unique first-person shooter, honestly. It was developed in the Source engine, which is pretty much Valve's main engine. They use it for stuff like Half-Life 2, Team Fortress 2 and all that. So, if the graphics look similar to stuff like Half-Life 2, then that's why, because it was made in that engine. And it's become quite a successful game, and it looks quite impressive for a Source game engine, what they've been able to do with it. Mainly talking about the UI there, because as you can see just from the gameplay, the UI is quite unique and impressive, and I actually really like it. It's sort of Halo-y with the fact that it's not got the bullet counter on, say, like the bottom right or whatever. It's not got it there, it's got it like on the gun, except it's like next to it, hovering next to it, and it's really cool, and I really like the style of the game in general, and yeah, it's just really unique. One of the main unique parts is that this isn't just a simple deathmatch game. There may be a deathmatch mode in it, but the only mode that I've played so far is called Warfare, and in Warfare, which may be the only mode, I'm not too sure, but it probably isn't. It's probably stuff like Capture the Flag as well. The commander, who I believe is probably in all modes, or at least in this mode, if this is the only mode, he is pretty much the most important player. All the other players, like what I'm playing at the moment, which is the stealth class, and you know, all those players are really important as well, but the commander is what's so unique and important about this game, is the commander. And you can apply to being a commander, and you can start a mutiny if you think the commander's really bad. Just, you know, turn against him, just get a load of people to vote him off pretty much, and that's how that works, and it works quite effectively, and it's a good system for it. It's very good. But the commander goes into this sort of I don't really have any gameplay of it because I suck at it, so I wouldn't dare be the commander because I don't want to screw up the whole team and just be pretty much a jackass for that. And it goes into this RTS style thing, and the commander can place different buildings. You can heal players, you can poison enemies apparently, and all this really cool stuff. And the commander plays some of the most important roles because he needs to build stuff like the turrets and everything to make sure people don't really get past your lines, and so you can just keep pushing forward to their base and destroy their base. So in that fashion is very Dota, League of Legends style, because you're trying to get through to their base and destroy it. You know, that kind of concept, except obviously there's not 3 lanes and a tower or whatever. But all the maps are quite, you know, spread out. They're big maps. They're quite big maps, and they're good maps as well. They seem like they've had a lot of thought put into them. There's quite a bit of detail there. You know, they seem to be pushing the Source engine to its limits pretty much, and it's quite impressive to say the least. So in that sense, it's a really unique game, and it can also be really fun. There are 4 classes in the game, not including the commander because that's not really a class, which is stealth, as you see I'm playing as here, assault, exo, which is sort of the heavy class, and support, which is obviously the like repairing and healing and all that stuff. So the uniquenesses of each class is obviously stealth. Can go into stealth mode, you know, we can go invisible, as you can probably see that I'm doing here. And in these different classes have sort of subclasses. You can choose which kit to go with, which sort of style you want to play the class in, such as the stealth. You can have the assassin kit, which will come with, you know, knives and then a little SMG and a pistol, and that will allow you to run around really quickly, which you can do with stealth class anyway, but backstab people, which is one of my complaints actually, is that the backstabbing can be quite broken and it doesn't work that often, which is a real shame. But yeah, so I'm playing as the sniper loadout, and there's also a saboteur, and it's fun to just try out these different styles and kits to see which one suits you best, honestly. And surprisingly, the sniper one suits me best. I really enjoy it, just because I think my main problem with being a sniper in most games is that I'm not really quick enough. As you can probably see, I'm not that quick at taking the shot. I need to make sure that I have got it right. and that's a problem in a lot of games because of course you're just out in the open, or you know, you're just lying on somewhere where somebody could easily just turn around and see you and then kill you. But of course, because it's still the stealth class, you can go into that stealth mode and then they can't see you, so you've got as much time as, you know, the stealth bar will allow you. For whatever reason it was cut off when I was playing, so it was saying stealth, but never mind that. So that is interesting, and it means that I can actually play it fairly well. I'm not too good at the game overall, but it's fun. It's definitely a lot of fun. It's probably some of the most fun sniping I've had. Assault is assault, you know, you can't really say too much about it. It's got like grenadier kit and, you know, machine gun kit from what I can remember, and that's just typical assault stuff, you know. It's nothing really too special, and their special ability though, which is of course special, is that when you press F, which is to activate all the special abilities for each class, you go into this sort of mode where everything gets all like sort of blurry and trippy, and people stand out as big white blobs sort of, and you know, they're very blurry. But what will also stand out is people that are in stealth mode, so you'll be able to see the stealth classes, so that balances it out as well, which, you know, is pretty much a necessity for any team. So you can pick out all the stealth classes and you don't let them get too far past your lines and start assassinating all you guys. Next is the Exo, which is pretty much the heavy class, as I said, and the special ability of this one is that obviously he's got a big ass machine gun, and also that he can lock himself to the ground, so he's stationary. So obviously you're quite vulnerable as well, but you've got higher accuracy, so the cone of fire is much smaller. And it's an interesting class, but it's just kind of, you know, that typical heavy weapons guy. That was terrible. Heavy weapons guy type thing. It's nothing too amazing, as either are all the classes. I kind of like playing the stealth. I like playing the stealth the most, I think, because it's one of the most unique. I think that's one of the main reasons, and it's a fun class to play as. And finally, you have support who can, you know, repair things and dish out med kits and such, so that's really obvious. But it's a fun game overall, and it teaches you the basics of each class very well in the training, as well as the commander. I didn't bother to go into the commander training because I thought I don't want to be commander, because I've heard a lot about the game and, you know, the different things before, and I don't feel that I would be too good at that personally. I'm not very good at RTS games, but it teaches you all the things very well and allows you to, you know, just play around with it and just dive right into it. There's no single player, it's just all online multiplayer with, there's a progression system sort of thing, and, you know, there's plenty of guns to unlock, I think, and it's well done and it's well presented. It's also nicely moddable, as I'm sure you've heard all the Unreal sound effects that can become quite tiring and annoying, but that was in the server, and that was obviously, it must have been modded in, I'm sure it was, and so obviously, you know, you can mod little things in, as you can do with pretty much any Source game, and that's a nice touch and big plus for it, honestly. One of the annoying things, though, that's just in the game as it is the announcer, as I'm sure you've heard many times, saying that a place, base or whatever, is being attacked, and that's just, ugh, it gets on your nerves quite a bit, but you kind of learn to just blank it out eventually, and then sometimes you don't want to, so it's weird, and that can be quite annoying. And one of the other annoying things is that you can't really tell how you got killed sometimes. Luckily, I think it might have been modded in, or it might have just been on the server, or it's just in the game itself. And it obviously, as you can see, displays what I got killed by, where the person, like how far away they were and such. And that's cool, that's a nice thing, but there are still times where I feel, whoa, wait, where did that come from? Okay, it was that, but how did that hit me? What was that happening? And it doesn't feel like there's enough of an impact, and sometimes you can't tell where you're getting hit from, which can be quite annoying. But luckily in stuff like stealth, you can just go invisible and run away, but it doesn't really make up for it too much. But it's still a fun game, and I'm enjoying it. And honestly, I think if people that like TF2 but want even more strategy and such, will really enjoy this game, and some will definitely enjoy playing as the commander in an RTS style mode. It's very cool, and it's a great game. And the next game is Max and the Magic Marker. Now, I've already played quite a bit of this because it was on WiiWare like a while ago, a long time ago, probably about 2-3 years ago, and it was just as fun as it was back then, honestly. It's a unique game, it has quite a nice art style with some really good animation, and just overall a nice theme. But even though it's quite unique in the fact that you can draw things and they'll just be there, whatever you draw, it's been done in other games, you know, it's nothing too amazing. And I think one of the main problems it has is the fact that Max, because he's a 3D image and he's in this 2D world, apart from when you press spacebar and go into the 2D drawing cartoonish frozen time world thing, which I do quite a bit because it's space, and space is usually pressed to jump, so yeah, that can be quite annoying. Yeah, he just sort of feels disconnected from the objects that are around him, just like he doesn't really feel like he's coming in contact with them. He doesn't really feel like he's walking on the grass, you know, the drawn grass or anything, you know, which I guess isn't a huge deal, but I don't know, I just kind of find that weird, and just, but that's just me, obviously, and it's still a fun game, and there are many different puzzles, many different types of puzzles. I only showed the first level in this, but it does become quite complicated, and also sort of glitchy with the things that you have to do with the marker and such, you know, and the ways you have to move around. You know, your drawings can become quite glitchy in terms of the physics of them, but the physics are still quite interesting. You know, the more ink that you put into a drawing, then obviously the heavier it will be, and it's really cool actually, and it's still a fun game. It is a fun game with a nice art style. It's very kid friendly, and just, it's a simple game, but it's still a lot of fun. And I like how there's seemingly sort of multiple ways to go around things, just because of the hardly any limitations of the marker, apart from the amount of ink that you have, and all your ink gets taken away when you reach a checkpoint, which I guess is so you don't become too overpowered or whatever. But it's part of the design of the game, and it's got a nice art style. You're seeing the standard version. I don't believe it's their full-on HD version, simply because the HD version, you know, of course it's not on Steam, unfortunately, just because it's not. Apparently they said it would wipe saves, and of course we can't have that for the sake of HD. But it would have been nice if they did allow like a DLC update thing, so you could choose to update it if you wanted to on Steam, but you can just download it separately as a DRM free archive file thing that you don't need to register on anything. And the reason why I wasn't recording it in that is because it has no 720p option, which is quite strange, so bear that in mind. But you can gain access to, of course, all the versions and the soundtrack and such. So it's good, it's a nice bit of fun. It's nothing too huge, groundbreaking, of course. It's just a fun little indie game that is light-hearted and fun little puzzle game. Fractal is the next game. This is an interesting puzzle game, like many of the puzzle games these days, honestly. You know, it's another interesting puzzle game, because no puzzle games are the same, really, let's be honest, because they just aren't. Why would you make a puzzle game like another? It's going to be a rip-off, and it's not going to be interesting. But this is an interesting one, and it's really simple. It's got a simple concept, but I can see that it can become quite complex in the later stages. I can see where they could go with this, and it looks pretty damn cool, actually. I'm not one of those people that gets really addicted into these simple puzzle games, but if you are, then I think you'll really enjoy this one. It's got a very stylized art style that's actually still quite simple, and also some quite impressive music that can become, you know, quite catchy as well. And of course you get the soundtrack in the Indie Royale, so it's definitely a good buy there. And overall, there's not really much to say about this game. It's just a simple game, you know. It's a puzzle game. What more can you say? You have to, you know, manipulate these hexagons by pushing them around in various different ways to create blooms, or they're called something like that. I'm sure you'll see in the video, of course. And it's quite a cool concept, and it works well, and I can see it getting more complex, as I said, and yeah, that's what it is. It's Fractal, you know. Fractal is Fractal, and that's the game, and it's one of the probably much smaller and much more simple, probably the most simple game and easy to get into game of the bunch, but it's still very cool and very good. Now, of course, Super Crossfire is the name of the last game, and it might just be my favourite of the bunch because it's so damn good, and it also runs incredibly smoothly. It was running at a solid 120 frames per second, even while I was recording with Fraps, which, as you can see, it's my first time playing the game. As I said, it's first impressions, but I'm just recording my first time, my first go on the game, and it's really good, really good. In fact, just I love all the lighting effects going on, and just the whole style of the game is really nice, from the menus and right into the actual game. It's just got this whole screen tilt thing going on, where you can tell that the images are flat 2D images, but it still looks really cool in that sense. It's really weird. It's almost like in some photos on the 3DS or something, which gives me the idea that this would look pretty damn amazing in 3D on the 3DS. But that would just be pretty friggin' amazing, just because it seems almost like it was made for a sort of 3D effect, just because of the scoreboard and such in the background. But it's a really fun game. It's sort of like Space Invaders, as you can see, but you can go from the top to the bottom, and that's the main thing. It's called warping, and by warping you collect that's how you collect power-ups and crystals and such, which all add to your score and give you various advantages and such. And overall, I love that mechanic, honestly. It is such a great mechanic, and it takes away from all the annoyances of Space Invaders as well. And it just means that you can get out of really tough situations as well, because when you warp, you just go right through the bullets that are being fired at you. But it still doesn't make the game too easy. The game is still quite difficult indeed, and you can upgrade your ship in a variety of ways. You can, when you unlock the option to anyway, you can choose how many upgrade points you want to have in that play session, whether it's like 6 or 12 or whatever, and then you spend those upgrade points upgrading stuff like speed and all that craziness, and it's really good. It's well done, it's just well made, and it's an amazing, well, not amazing, it's a really awesome game. I won't say amazing, because amazing is like the best of the best, and it's not that, but it's probably the best of this Indie Royale, and the fact that it's an exclusive gives you a huge incentive to do it, especially if you're a Desora. If you're a user of Desora, then you can register it on that, and that's another game to add to your collection, I suppose. And eventually they might bring it out on Steam. I think this game would do quite well on Steam because it's such a good game. It's really, really good, and yeah, this and possibly Nuclear Dawn are the main reasons to get this bundle, and they are definitely great reasons. And of course it comes with the soundtrack of Super Crossfire as well, which is really groovy and techno-y and just is great. And Super Crossfire is a great shooter, great arcade shooter, because it's tough to make arcade shooters interesting, for me at least. It's tough to like really engage me and make me want to, keep retrying and playing. Beat Hazard does that quite well because of the music, and I think this does it because of that and the game mechanics and such, and it's really well done. And yeah, that's the main reason to get the Indie Royale. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this collection of impressions from the Indie Royale, the New Year bundle, and I'll hopefully be doing this again. You should have about 2 days or so left, or possibly a bit less, or possibly more, to get this, so I would highly recommend it. It's really cheap, just spend, the recommended is $5, and if you're even more generous, then $10, and of course if you're more generous, then even more than that. But I recommend you spend at least $5, because of course then you get the album, the amazing chiptune album that I talked about before as well, and it's a great deal, and I hope to do this again with the next bundle. So until then, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.